これよりセッション2を開始いたしますが、お手元の質問票についてご説明いたします。これからご講演いただく先生方には、本セッションの後行われますパネルディスカッションにて、お手元の質問票を持って質問をすることができます。皆様からいただきました質問票から、コーディネーターより先生方へ質問をさせていただきます。つきましては、質問票の回収を本セッション終了後の休憩時間で行いますので、お近くの係員まで声をかけていただき、提出いただきたいと思いますので、どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。それでは、セッション2、総合的安全保障、東アジアの現状と沖縄の役割について、先生方よりご講演いただきます。まず、東京大学大学院教授、高原昭夫先生にご講演いただきます。高原先生は、英国サセックス大学にて博士号を取得されており、その後、オービリン大学や立教大学にて教鞭を振るわれ、現在は東京大学大学院法学政治学研究科にて教授を務めておられます。専門は現代中国政治、東アジア国際政治でございます。それでは高原先生、ご講演をお願いいたします。
はい、ご紹介をどうもありがとうございました。また昨年に続きまして、この万国診療フォーラムにお招きをいただいたことに厚く御礼申し上げたいと思います。私、今朝東京から参りまして、午前中のユースフォーラムも半分拝見しましたけれども、それも含め、大変な企画力と行動力だと思います。沖縄県庁の方々、中んづく地域安全政策課の方々に心からの敬意を表したいと思います。で、先ほどのセッション、大変内容が充実しておりましたけれども、なかなかやっぱり時間が足らないというのが事実だろうと思います。できるだけ私の話は短くしてですね、海外から来られた先生たちに時間をなるべく長くお話をしてもらおうと思うと言うと、大抵私の話が長くなるんですよね。頑張りたいと思います。最初のポイントですけれども、東アジアの現状ということが話の前提ということですので、まずはその世界の現状でありますけれども、どうもですね、第二次世界大戦が終わってもう70年近く経ちましたけれども、全体的にある種の閉塞感が広がっているような気がしてならないわけです。で、特にいわゆるアメリカモデルだとかワシントンコンセンサスだとか言われた新自由主義的な、つまり規制緩和を政府はどんどんすればいい、市場化をどんどん進めればなんかみんなハッピーになるといったような、幻想が2008年の世界金融危機によって崩れたということが大きい。要するにモデルなき世界になったという部分が大きな原因となっているのではないかと思います。で、ヨーロッパはどうか、 EU ができましたけれども、EU のその今の困難というのもよく知られているところです。移民の排斥をはじめとするその右翼的な運動も展開されておりますし、それから世界全体で民主主義に対する疑問が高まっているという事情がありはしないでしょうか。我々に近い国におきましても、例えばタイにおいて、いわゆるその多数決でもって政権担当者を選んだり意思決定をするといういわば民主主義の基本原理に対する疑問、あるいはそれの揺らぎが生じているという事情があると思います。ただ幸い、自由、平等、友愛といった民主主義の価値についての疑問、これはまだ出ていないといいますか、出ていないと思いますので、そこを足がかりにして私たちはまた新たにどのような秩序を作っていくべきなのかという問題を考え直す、そういう時期に差し掛かっていると思いますが、しかしこの閉塞状況の中で、先ほどのヨーロッパの例にありますように、不合理なナショナリズムの高まりが見られます。ですから私たちはそういう感情の高まりを抑えてですね、理性的な声を上げていかなければならないという、そういう時代ではないかと思うんです。で、国際秩序の揺らぎが確かに見られます。 で特に今世紀に入ってからですけれども、大国による一方的な現状変更が目立つようになっている。大国というのはアメリカであったり中国であったりロシアであったりするわけですけれども、それはやはり由々しき事態であると、私たちはみんなでどうしたらいいのか考えなければならない、そういう危機的な状況に来ているんだという認識を私自身は持っているところであります。で、東アジアはどうかというとですね、やはりそれぞれの国に閉塞感があると思います。日本ではアベノミクスという経済政策のもとに、少しそういう緊張感が揺らいだ部分もありますけれども、例えば東アジアの中で今一番ダイナミックに発展している国といえば言うまでもなく中国でありますが、その目覚ましい発展の皮を一枚めくるとですね、人々は生活水準こそ上がったけれども必ずしも幸せになっていない、かえって現状への不満とか将来への不安を募らせているという状況があります。そういう中で人々はどこに心の救いを求めるか、最近宗教を信じる人が非常に増えていまして、スライドにあるような大きな教会も例えば浙江省の雲州で建てられたりしているんですけども、しかしそれが共産党のやはり政策と合わないということになりますと壊されてしまったりとか、そのような事態が今の中国で生じているわけです。で、そういうダイナミックな中国、国力を増大させている中国がどのようにその増大した力を使うのかというところが非常に鮮明な中でも鮮明な問題として我々の眼前にあるというのも皆さんの意見が一致するところだろうというふうに思います。で、習近平さん政権について1年半以上経ちましたが、おっしゃることは大変ソフトでジェントルでいいんですね。ただやってることを見るとどうもその言葉とは違う矛盾した行動が出てきているのではないか。その東アジアにおいて国家間の関係が緊張しているという現実があるわけですけれども、その一つの原因はやはりそうした言葉とそれから行動の間のズレにあるのではないかと思われてならないわけです。で、どういうふうにでは緊張緩和を進めればいいのか、そこで沖縄の役割は何かという部分に話を進めたいんですが、緊張緩和を進めていく上では私はやはり3つのことが大事だろうというふうに思うんですね。一つは国際的な規範の共有浸透ということです。で、中国は近代化の真っ只中にあって、そしていわば我々も経験したことですけれども富国強兵のパラダイムにとらわれている部分があります。中国はしかしそれと同時にですね、もうその段階を超えていわばポスト近代社会に意識の上で入っている、そういう人々も同時に増えているんですが、まだ近代のパラダイムにとらわれている人も少なくないという、そういう状況なんですね。で、なんとか我々全体として共に規範を共有できるようなそういう方向に進んでいかなければならない、そのように思います。それから相互依存関係の深まりが緊張関係の緩和に貢献する、これは明らかな事実だと思います。今日の午前中のユースフォーラムの大きなテーマは非伝統的な安全保障協力でした。先ほど外の展示で今朝の話し合いの結果というのを見ましたけれども、大変素晴らしい提案が後でちょっと触れますが出ていたように思います。で、経済交流もどんどんやっていくべきだと思いますし、行くべきだなんて私が偉そうに言わなくても自然と進んでいくというのが今のグローバル化の一つの結果だろうというふうに思います。それから3点目として、しかし力のバランスということもやはり無視できないんですね。力のバランスが急激に崩れるとそれは秩序の不安定化につながるというふうにも言えると思います。ですので急激な力のバランスの変化が起きないような同盟ネットワークの強化、それをした上で対話と協力を進め信頼関係を築いていこうと努力しないことには ここの地域における軍拡競争、それは絶対に避けたいわけでありますので、他方における対話協力の推進の努力というのを何とか進めていかなければならない。ではそういう中で沖縄がどういう役割を果たすのかということですけれども、ここら辺の話は実は去年申し上げたことと重なります。私は東アジアという地域のいろんな意味での重心、重さのそのバランスの中心ですね、そういう存在に沖縄がなれないかというふうに去年から思い始めているところであるわけです。で、力の秩序の重心というのはやはりこの地域に住む人々のこの合意あるいは信頼を築いていくベースになることだと思います。それから沖縄がここに住む人たちの感情のいわば重心になることはなれないだろうか。人間ですから必ずしもいつも理性に基づいて行動するだけではありません。やはり人の気持ちというのは非常に大事なことなんですね。で、万人にとっての癒しと安らぎの場になるような、それは当然沖縄の過去の戦争の経験ということがあり、平和の礎に象徴されるようなその教訓を学ぼうとする沖縄の人たちの姿勢というのがあるわけですけれども、そういう意味でも沖縄がいわば重心になれないかというふうに思うわけです。それから3番目に規範の秩序ですね。どういうルールにのっとってどういう価値に基づいて私たちはこの地域の秩序を考えていくべきなのか、その合意を進めるためにはどうしても対話と協力をしていくほかはないというふうに思います。で、若者たちの今朝の話し合いの結果をご覧になってない方は後でぜひ外のホールで見てもらいたいと思うんですけれども、彼らのいくつかの結論はですね、異文化交流であるとか異文化理解であるとか多文化共生であるとか、そういった今後の人類全体にとって重要な課題の一つの模範的な社会ですね、それを沖縄に作れないのか、あるいはそれを実現するための例えば教育の場を沖縄に設けられないのか、そういった非常に鋭い今私たちがまさに直面している閉塞状況を打ち破る非常に重要なヒントになるような考え方を若者たちが示してくれているように思いますので、ぜひその外のディスプレイを見ていただけたらと思います。万国津梁フォーラムがそのような多国間の取り組みのための重要な場を提供しているという評価を最後に申し上げまして、私の報告は終わりにしたいと思います。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
高原先生、ありがとうございました。次に北京大学国際関係学院准教授宇哲群先生にご講演いただきます。北京大学国際関係学院にて博士号を取得され、東京大学総合文化研究科へ留学された経験もございます。現在は北京大学国際関係学院にて教鞭を振るわれながら、アメリカ・スタンフォード大学国際安全協力センターや、ハーバード大学ジョン・キング・フェアバンク東アジア研究センターにて、客員研究員としてもご活躍されております。それでは、宇哲群先生、ご講演をお願いいたします。
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I'm Yu Tiejun from the School of International Studies, Peking University. It's my honor to participate in the Bangkok Xinliu Forum here. My presentation will include mainly the three sections. And the first one is current realities and challenges of comprehensive security in East Asia. From the standpoint of Chinese. And the second one is there a model of regional cooperation, regarding comprehensive security, followed by the third one, Okinawa's role toward regional comprehensive security. the concept of a comprehensive security, we also use this concept in China. I think starting from the middle of the 1990s, when China began to participate in the ASEAN, ARF dialogue, and in the Chinese context, the meaning of comprehensive security is it includes both traditional security and non-traditional security. We have also a similar, I think, concept, like the comprehensive security, that's overall security. Here I would like to quote President Xi Jinping's, his remarks at the fourth summit of the Conference on Interaction and Confidence-Building Measures in Asia on May 21st, just this year. The reason I quote President Xi Jinping's remarks is, in Chinese political system, first of all, of course, this quotation is very relevant to today's discussion because it's related to the new security concept, especially the comprehensive security. And secondly, obviously, his remarks is authoritative. And the third one is update. In recent 2 or 3 years, the East Asian security situation is in great flux. And of course, you can also consult Chinese some official documents like the white papers of Chinese national defense or the Communist Party's, their documents of the party Congress. President Xi Jinping, in his remarks, he said a comprehensive security means upholding security in both traditional and non-traditional fields. And next, he gives some assessment of the Asian, especially East Asian security situation. He said, Asia's security challenges are extremely complicated, which include both hot spots and sensitive issue, and ethnic and religious problems. The challenges are brought by terrorism, transnational crimes, environmental security, cyber security, energy and resource security, and major natural disaster are clearly on the rise. So here he includes both traditional security and non-traditional security when he talks about the comprehensive security. And he also said traditional and non-traditional security threats are interwoven. Security is a growing issue in both scope and the implication. So, following his remarks, so the second point of this section is, the current realities in East Asia generally perceived by China. For more than 30 years, we use some keywords like, now it's an era of development and peace. We still use this kind of words when we describe the situation, the security situation in East Asia. So it's a kind of, I think, supplement to his, assessment of the rise of security, challenges in East Asia. So specifically, what kind of a traditional security challenge in East Asia? So first of all, it's Korea nuclear crisis. China as a host of the six-party talks since 2003, and it's already 11 years, unbelievable. A decade has passed, but there is no fruitful result, from the six-party talks. And we paid a lot of attention to the Korea Peninsula. Just several days ago, I think President Xi Jinping gave his state visit to ROK, and he made it clear we want to say we still insist on, a nuclear-free Korea Peninsula. This policy will not change. And I think it's declarations on Chinese Korea policy, Korea Peninsula policy. And maritime, territory disputes here is really East China Sea and South China Sea, territory disputes, which worried a lot of people in this region. This is still the Korea issues. The King the Third, he became the ruler of DPRKS in 2012, and still the bomb and the missiles, worried, destabilized the region. And this is the range of the, the Korea, the North Korea's missiles, which was regarded as a destabilizer in this region. And the territory disputes, that's very unfortunately, which made the Sino-Japanese relations hit the bottom, since its normalization in 1972. We should celebrate 40 years of normalization, but just in 2012, the year of 2000, when the Diaoyu Islands, the Senkaku issues, territory disputes, emerged, so we are facing now very serious situations, deteriorations of bilateral relations, and in both countries, this I think hurt severely, the image about the other countries and the feelings. This is the confrontations between the Chinese Coast Guard and the Japanese Coast Guard in the waters surrounding the Diaoyu, Senkaku Islands, which became a very serious problem. We need to think about, the crisis management now, to try to establish some, code, operational code, to stabilize the crisis if we can. And the situation was made worse, since last year, the end of last year, so when the ADIZ issues emerged, and you can see from the slide that there is a big overlap zones here. In recent several months, so we can find the dangerous, approximations of the military planes from both countries in this region. It's very, very dangerous. Just think about the 2001, the military planes coalition incident between China and the United States over the South China Sea. So when you think about East Asian security issues, the United States was always there, and there is ROK, U.S. Military alliance, as well as the U.S.-Japan alliance. President Obama visited Japan, and made it clear the Article 5 with the security, alliance will take, effect. So once there is some, China take actions, regarding the Diaoyu Islands, which was regarded as a kind of a challenge to to China on the Chinese side, of course. This is a Taiwan issue. I will skip this because Professor Qin Xin, he's more qualified to talk about this. And South China Sea, the troubled waters. In recent several years, you can find there is a big overlaps among the sovereign claimants. This is Vietnam's claim line, and this is the Nandesh line claimed by China, and this is a Philippine line. So you can see how dangerous and how serious the problem is in South China Sea. And the other I have talked is about the traditional security issues, and non-traditional security is also a big problem now in the eyes of the Chinese. This is the air pollutions in Beijing. So regarding non-traditional security, we usually include environmental security issues, disaster relief, terrorism, pandemic, disease, transnational crimes, energy and resource securities, which was included in President Xi Jinping's talk. And this is the disaster relief on the rescue team of Japan in 2008 when, during the Sichuan great earthquake in China. And this is a Chinese rescue team in Japan in 2011. Just before the 2012, we still have this kind of connection and support, mutual support. And terrorism is a very serious problem now in China. This is Xinjiang, the July 5 incident in 2009, killing many people. And this one is a Kunming incident, just happened this year, as the Kunming railway stations. So in China, terrorism is increasing as a very serious security challenge to the leadership. And the bird flus and pandemic disease, China's the thought in 2003. So this is energy security issues. And secondly, it's can we find some models we can learn from the examples, good examples. Frankly speaking, I think I do see in the international security studies. So we do not have a perfect one, and if you look at the EU, the most advanced, maybe it's regarding comprehensive security issues, we can say it's a weakness in dealing with, for instance, the Ukraine crisis. OSCE is helpful in integrating the East European countries, but it's also have some problems. ARF is have done a lot of contributions to the local confidence building regarding confidence building measures, but someone complained it's only a talk shop. And the FCO initiated by Russia and China, we also there are many limitations. It's only focus on the anti-terrorism and extremism, separatism. Maybe it's regarding comprehensive security. A lot of things needs to be done. And the SICA, and you can see there are many advantages and disadvantages for all these security regimes. But in the case of Northeast Asia, I think still, although there is no panacea if you look at the security regime, but I think still it's very urgent and it's helpful, and we need to establish such kind of a platform, dialogue platform, and security regimes in the East Asia context. So the third, what kind of role Okinawa can play? I just follow Professor Takahara Sensei. His words. Okinawa is a very special regarding its geography, its history. If you look at Okinawa history, it used to be a very successful, trading state, a trading kingdom. And it's also, it's a tragedy because it became a very miserable battleground during in the end of, Second World War. And the Battle of Okinawa, and now it's become a focus regarding the military bases. So this, make Okinawa is a very special place for peace and stability in East Asia. It's a combined, a lot of things here. This is the 2+2. China pay a lot of attention to this. The 2+2. Dialogue and meetings, and the U.S.-Japan alliance focus on, of course, the military bases. The Ospreys, the Futenas, Futema bases. We just have a look yesterday on the demonstrations. So this, and secondly, is as a bridge. As a bridge, first as a bridge of communication, of hub of cooperation. You can see from this map. Yeah, it's a hub. It's a hub. The Okinawa. As a practitioner of a new Asian security concept, our topic is a comprehensive security. I think the theme of the Bangkok Senior Forum and the concept of a comprehensive security fit very well in the Chinese vision of the so-called new security concept, which include 4 elements. That means, the common security, the comprehensive security, cooperative security, and sustainable security. So I really think, Okinawa can play, can done a lot contributions to this, to establish this, to fulfill this kind of concept. And finally, it's also very special for as a model of historical reconciliation and confidence building. If you look, the historical problem is a very important factor, so in the East Asian international politics. We still very much lived in the past. And in that sense, Okinawa, it's very special. Just look at the pictures, I think the history, the experience make Okinawa is a very good place for people to think about the peace, the issues regarding peace, stabilities, and cooperations. And the peace prayer, for instance, the peace prayer park, and the emperor had just visited Okinawa, last month. And the concluding remarks is so very simple. First, East Asian security situation is in flux, and we need to think about security in a more comprehensive way, including both traditional and non-traditional security in an integrated way. And the second, the security regimes are useful to lessen the security dilemmas in this region, but with a limitation. There is no panacea, but it's still worth trying. It will be far better than nothing. And finally, Okinawa can play a unique role in improving security cooperation in this region, based on the Okinawa ology. I would like to stop here. Thank you very much.
哲軍先生、ありがとうございました。続きまして、ソウル大学国際大学院教授パク・チョルヒ先生にご講演いただきます。パク・チョルヒ先生はアメリカコロンビア大学にて政治学博士号を取得され、現代日本政治を専攻としておられました。日本国立政策研究大学院大学外交安保研究院にて助教授を、コロンビア大学、慶応大学、神戸大学においては客員教授としてのご経験もあり、現在はソウル大学国際大学院にて国際学科を教えながら日本研究所所長も兼任されております。それではパク・チョルヒ先生、ご講演をお願いいたします。
ご紹介ありがとうございました。Thank you for inviting me to this prestigious forum. And thank you for giving me this very wonderful Kariyushi. I enjoyed too much. After changing to Kariyushi, I feel much more comfortable. I am in a mood for speak. So I wanted to keep timeline as much as possible so that others can talk much more freely. First of all, I wanted to state my opinion about how I see the situation in East Asia. I think the world is drawing more attention to East Asia. First, because East Asia is a center of economic powerhouse. China is rising, Japan is revitalizing, and then Korea became a very dynamic country. So the Japan, China, Korea all together constitutes a major source of economic dynamism in the world, and not only in East Asia. But at the same time, this region is right in the middle of a power transition or power shift, not only in the region but also in a global sense. And it gives us a kind of opportunities and the challenges at the same time. First of all, the rise of China is a challenge. I think China is no more a sleeping giant, as somebody said. And China recognizes itself as a great power, as the term like New Style Great Power Relationship suggests. Also, China is getting more confident and then trying to move around. And I think China is not thinking about challenging U.S. hegemony at all, but in a regional sense, China is just trying to gradually modify the regional order to their own advantage. As the air defense identification zone suggests, or establishment of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So China is gradually moving toward a kind of modifying, not revising the word, but slightly revising, modifying the regional order, which is a kind of a challenge to the neighboring countries. Also, Japan, looking at the rise of China, is very alarmed by China's assertive move. And then Japan, especially under Prime Minister Abe, is try to revitalize and re-empower Japan, and then taking a lot of the policies to renovate its system. Especially, my sense is that Japan is trying to be a freer hand in the defense measures. Also, economically, they wanted to revitalize by taking all the economic measures they can think of. Japan is no more a restrained power like in the past, and then try to show the will to become a normal country. My way of thinking is that the Japan under Abe, Prime Minister Abe, is trying to achieve two things. One, defense revisionism, and then history revisionism. I think it's legitimately justifiable to change the defense postures of Japan, especially in the context of rise of China. And then when you have a conflict or tension around the Senkaku Island issue. But history revision is producing unnecessary tensions with immediate neighbors. So anyway, I don't think many Japanese are realizing in a very serious way, but this history revisionism is kind of making the immediate neighbors very uneasy, and how to handle a renewed Japan is a kind of big challenge for a country like Korea. Another challenge we are facing is definitely a Korean peninsula. As Professor Yu just mentioned, North Korea is developing nuclear weapon system combined with the missile delivery system. And then North Korea is very unpredictable and unstable under the leadership of Kim Jong-un, even though Kim Jong-un has puts a strong hold on power. Still, we think that their behavior is quite unpredictable. For example, they are suggesting the idea that they are going to send a support team to Asian Games next month in September. But at the same time, they are shooting missiles every week to the East Sea or wherever. So kind of, what is your real intention? That gives a kind of very much a kind of anxious minds us, and then North Korea is looked as a kind of a very provocative dissatisfier and a destabilizer. South Korea is in between China and Japan. One of my colleagues wrote a book called Korea is between ally and partner. So ally United States and China is a partner. Of course, Korea wants to have a very good relationship with China to take best advantage of its economic rise. But at the same time, we have to have a very good relationship with the United States and Japan, especially when you think of the security of South Korea. So all in all, what you see at the moment is more tensions and conflicts among Northeast Asian neighbors, and it creates a lot of instability and uneasiness among us. And I think that is coming from three different layers of lack of something. The first lack, something that we lack, is that the lack of a regional security mechanism. Even though we have ARF or CSCAP or other the mechanisms of communication, still it does not work as a kind of a collective security system that creates a concert of nations in this region. So we are not fully satisfied about the regional mechanism of security cooperation. Second lack is lack of a crisis prevention and crisis management system. One of my American friends told me that they're not worried about Korean Peninsula at all. North Korea attack, forget it. It will not happen so easily. But they are very much worried about Senkaku Islands issue. Even though Japan and China never want the physical contact between the two, possibly that can happen unexpectedly. So how to create a kind of crisis prevention mechanism, crisis management system is a kind of we are desperately in need. We're thinking about Japan-China rivalry, especially in the maritime arena. The third lack is that the lack of trust among the regional powers. Everybody would agree that Japan and China have a troubled relationship at this moment. Even Korea and China, Korea and Japan have a very troubled relationship. I'm a so-called Japan specialist. Many of my friends who were very much restrained and then very calm got very emotional these days. 뭐 이요. 도대모. They talk to me like that. So it shows that we have a kind of emotional frustration among us. In Korea, many things that Japan initiated is disliked and then critically reviewed by major newspapers, which means we lack trust among us. So how to create the trust among the regional powers is a big challenge. And our president, Park Geun-hye, says the so-called Asian paradox. This is a very paradoxical because in East Asia, economic interdependence is increasing. Human transactions are increasing. Culturally understanding each other very well. But the political military conflict are deepening. And then historical territorial controversies are never going down. So this is a paradoxical situation. So how to solve this issue is a kind of big challenge. I think it's time for us to rethink about comprehensive security. I think I like the title of this session. As many of you know, the concept of a comprehensive security was developed, coined by the Japanese administrations. As far as I know, the first Japanese administration that advocated this comprehensive security was Ohira administration. And then it included not only military security, but also economic security and human security. So the security should be a comprehensive one rather than a very limited scope of security. But at the moment, if I look at the kind of discussion and then the empirical dynamics, we lost the balance in the concept of comprehensive security. Now, we are all talking about nation, state, national sovereignty at the expense of any regional cooperation. It's a kind of state and nation comes first. That's the reason why nationalism is a kind of first cause of action in many countries. At least Korea, Japan, and China, we see the rise of nationalism. And we are only talking about the military security, how to strengthen our security. But the security is also usually in the context of military things. And we are losing the sight about the soft power. Also, I'm saying this not because I'm in Okinawa, but they're all talking about central state government system, security system. The security cannot be more monopolized by the central state. I think a local government and then ordinary citizens should play a big role in constructing comprehensive security. So what do you have to do? I think especially the place like Okinawa, we have to take best advantage of not only the location and the power that Okinawa has. First of all, I think people in Okinawa understands better than anybody else in this region that war should be avoided. And many people are talking about security and making the other country as an enemy. No, we have to make friends. There is a two way of making your country secure. One is making your country stronger. But on the other hand, you have to lessen the threat level of tension between the countries. So I think that should be done. At the same time, as Professor Takahara mentioned, the Okinawan people understand the emotions. I like Okinawa because you have a good memory of history, and then you understand the spirit of victimized people. I learned that the saying that the Okinawan saying then, "Nuchiru takara," the inochi is takara. This is the spirit of the peace movement in Okinawa and then all the liberal element in the Japanese society. So I think that spirit should be cherished. And then the geographic, the advantage of this location is that all the countries are crisscrossing this area, and then Okinawa stands at the center, not only geographically, but also you're having a cultural diversity. So I just say that Okinawa should be a kind of a leading engine of the rediscovering the balance in the concept of comprehensive security. First of all, Okinawa should be a center of a dialogue for security cooperation. Also, Okinawa should be a center of regional collaboration because you're located right in the middle. Also, Okinawa has a very strong soft power. So you should promote the soft power connection in this region. Also, you can make people mixed by making all of them a transnational citizens. So my final say about this comprehensive security is that what should be done, especially in Okinawa? One, I think I think this forum is one of these fora, but holding in addition to this, the private level fora, I want to Okinawa hold a kind of much more high-level security dialogue, so that enhancing the understanding among nations in this region. Also, how to talk about how to reduce tensions and understand the other party much more deeply. And I think this is a part of East Asia Peace Forum. So it's a kind of putting countries into the habits of cooperation is very important. And when I come to Okinawa, when I said to my students and my colleagues, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to Okinawa." And all of them told me that, "I want to go with you." Why? This is the best tourism spot in the region. So they're promoting a kind of soft power image of Okinawa and then making it a kind of a hot tourist spot. I heard that you have a fora of Jeju Island, Okinawa, Bali, and Phuket. those 4 islands are the most favorite areas that I wanted to spend my summer vacation, which I cannot. And then finally I wanted to see that the Okinawan people lead a kind of transnational peace movement, not only for peace of Okinawa, not only for peace of Japan. I want the Okinawan people become a leader of and the transnational citizen movement for peace. Thank you very much for your attention.
パク・チョルヒ先生、ありがとうございました。続きまして、炭鉱大学米国研究所教授、陳一新先生にご講演いただきます。陳一新先生は、アメリカ・コロンビア大学にて博士号を取得され、現在は炭鉱大学米国研究所にて教授をされております。主な研究分野は、政治学、アメリカの外交政策や政府体系、それから国際政治経済になります。それでは、陳一新先生、どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your introduction. It's my pleasure and my honor to be here. Actually, last time I came to Okinawa was last month. And last time I came here with my wife, and I told my wife it may be the last time to be here. But actually, I'm wrong. You never say never. You never say it's the last time. Actually, a few days later, I received the email from Okinawa Prefecture government, which invited me to be here to present a PowerPoint and discussing security affairs with you, with all of you. I think it's my pleasure to be here, and I'd like to share my ideas. A couple of months ago, a Chinese scholar, a female professor, female doctor, came to my office, and we had a discussion. He raised the question, why United States criticized Vietnam when Vietnam criticized China, saying that China's dispatch of its oil drilling platform to the South China Sea is a kind of proactive action, and while strongly supporting Vietnam, because she said she could understand very well that why the United States strongly supports Japan. Even President Obama even said that the fifth clause of U.S.-Japan Security Treaty would be applied to Senkaku Islands. But she could not understand why the United States criticized China when China dispatched one or two oil drilling platform, because there are so many platforms, maybe thousands or at least hundreds of platforms in the South China Sea. This question actually excited my curiosity. So as a scholar, we always try to find a theory, or at least a theoretical framework to account for or interpret the international affairs. So in today's presentation, I will skip most of the discussion on U.S. rebalancing Asia policy. Instead, I will focus my interpretation of such activities in Asia. I will say my theoretical framework or theory can be traced back to the second half of the 19th century, okay, when the United States missionaries were anxious to move to China to bring Christian and Western ideas to the Chinese. Simply put, I think the United States missionary prefer to save the souls of the Chinese people at that time. And this religious trust was accompanied by an economic trust by many American manufacturers, industrialists, and businessmen. They came to China at the same time. And in the later 19th century, John Jay, Secretary of State, announced its open door policy, which was welcomed by the Chinese people. So I will say that this is the first wave of religious idealism and geo-economic political realism in the starting from late 19th century. And I will say after the Chinese communists took over China, the United States decided to shift its target from China to Republic of China, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and the SATO member states. So the first wave ended in 1949, and the second wave started in 1950. And the second wave has witnessed Korean War, Vietnam War, and the collapse of the Soviet Union. So the second wave ended in 1991. Starting from 1992, sorry, I put 2000, actually it's 1992. Okay, the third wave started when President George Bush presented to promote the defense structure strategy in the Asia-Pacific region. But President George Bush didn't implement his policy because he was defeated by Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton promoted his constructive engagement and enlargement of democracy as his main policy in the Asia-Pacific region. And after Clinton, we have George W. Bush's hedging strategy. And now Barack Obama has promoted its rebalancing Asia policy. Okay, so we will put more emphasis to interpret the third wave of integrated religious idealism and geopolitical, economic, political realism. Okay, we could find. Okay, all U.S. president supported Japan's administrative power in the Senkaku Island, but none of the U.S. president had demonstrated his support as President Obama. President Obama has demonstrated even stronger support to Japan, and then his predecessors. So we could see that President Obama has made even more efforts to promote the third wave, the third wave of religious idealism and geo-economic political realism. Okay, many may wonder why the United States is determined to change, to transform the communist regime like Vietnam. Okay, many may wonder the United States efforts may be made in vain. It's true, but we know, as we witnessed, the Americans have rich experience in transforming a communist regime into democratic regime, as shown in the Eastern Europe. Okay, so Vietnam may be the Vietnam people, maybe the new people, which United States wanted to save their souls. And how has Vietnam responded to U.S. efforts? We could see U.S. President Obama and Dong Thanh Sang, President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, launched the U.S.-Vietnam Comprehensive Partnership in July 2013. And later on, Prime Minister Nguyen Tan Dong pointed out that Vietnam should not heavily depend on China's economy in June 2013. Of course, we know Vietnam has heavily depended on China's market and economy. But Vietnam's Prime Minister would try every possible means to change the current status. And we could see Vietnam Communist Party Secretary General Nam Yang Phu Trong, who is the #1 leader in Vietnam, said that Vietnam should prepare for all possibilities ahead of it, including war. #4's leader, Nguyen Sinh Hong, chairman of National Assembly, heavily criticized China's illegal actions in the East China Sea. Okay, now, in the past, Vietnam leaders are divided into two camps. One is pro-China, like Vietnam President and Vietnam Prime Minister. And now, and the other two are pro-China camp. Now, it seems that they have reached a consensus among themselves. So, I think China may be aware that the current situation is very difficult to control, and China may believe that China and the United States, all United States partners like Vietnam and all allies as like the Philippines, may be at the brink of war. Given such a high tension, I think either side may have to back down. Otherwise, there may be conflict at least, or even it could be escalated to war. So in the end, I will say the third wave of integrated religious idealism and the geo-economic political realism could help account for U.S. strong support of Japan, Vietnam, and the Philippines. The success of Obama's rebalancing Asia policy would to some extent rely upon whether the third wave of integrated religious idealism and the geo-economic political realism could further be promoted. And my third finding is that given the current high tension in the South China Sea, either side, either China or Vietnam or United States, will have to back down. Otherwise, a conflict or a war may not be avoided. Okay, I will stop here and welcome your comments and questions. Thank you.
陳一新先生、ありがとうございました。最後にジョージ・ワシントン大学教授マイク・望月先生にご講演いただきます。マイク・望月先生は日本の金沢で生まれ、アメリカ・テキサス州のエルパソで育った日系3世でおられます。ブラウン大学にて学士号、ハーバード大学で政治学博士号を取得され、東京大学法学部へも留学されております。その後、エール大学、南カリフォルニア大学の教員、 ランド研究所上級政治学者、ブルッキングス研究所上級研究員などを経て、現在はジョージ・ワシントン大学の教授をお務めでいらっしゃいます。専門は日本の政治及び外交政策、日米関係、アジア安全保障でございます。それではマイク望月先生、ご講演お願いいたします。
Thank you very much. I really want to express my deep appreciation for my friends in the Okinawa Prefectural Government for organizing this forum and also giving me the opportunity to participate again. One of the problems in going last in this panel is that just about everything that I wanted to say has already been said, and it's been said much better than I would have been able to have said, so there's very little for me to add. So what I would like to do in the limited time that's remaining in this panel is just to highlight a few things that have already been said and give my own spin on this. As Professor Park mentioned, the concept of comprehensive security originated in Japan in the late 1970s under the Ohita administration. And that concept emerged at a particular point in time when there was détente between the United States and the Soviet Union, détente between the United States and China, and the normalization of relations between Japan and China. So this was a period in which there was a general reduction in tensions, and the importance of comprehensive security, as Professor Park mentioned, is that it was an attempt to look at security beyond the traditional military concerns to emphasize such things as food security and energy security. And after the end of the Cold War, it seemed that the time for comprehensive security had really arrived, and many academics in the United States and in Europe began to focus on non-traditional security. And even after 9/11, after the terrorist attacks on New York and Washington, D.C., there was still a feeling that the notion of comprehensive security and the importance of looking at non-state actors was the critical thing in security studies. And it's quite impressive that in the national security strategy of the administration of George W. Bush, there was a major theme that despite the terrorist attacks, that it is virtually unthinkable that there would be a conflict among the major powers. But unfortunately, as all of the speakers have said so far, that over the last several years, the world seems to be changed. It may be an era of despair, as Professor Takahata has indicated. And on this 100th anniversary of World War I, we tend to think that maybe there is a reemergence of a world of great power competition and even great power conflict, especially with the rise of China and the reemergence of Russia as an independent geopolitical actor. And so I certainly agree with Professor Takahata and the other speakers that the challenge today is to try to reduce tensions. Now, of course, the policies that are being taken by the United States and Japan has been right in many respects in terms of emphasizing the importance of deterrence. And in that sense, I very much support the policies of President Obama to rebalance to the Asia-Pacific region. But as I stated when I was at the earlier forum last October, that although deterrence is important, it is by no means sufficient to achieve comprehensive security. And I think this has been said by all of the speakers, that one of the things that is lacking in the region is strategic trust. There is an incredible trust deficit, especially in Northeast Asia. And then as we see the deterioration of relations between China and the Philippines and China and Vietnam, there is now a growing trust deficit in Southeast Asia as well. And so I think one of the challenges of comprehensive security over the coming decade is how we can promote, strategic trust, not just to reduce tensions. And the notion of trust is a new concept in the study of international politics in political science, but I think it's something that deserves much greater attention. In order to promote trust, I think you need a number of measures or number of pathways for that end. And I would just like to highlight 5 pathways. One is to have prolonged periods of cooperation about discrete issues. Even if there are conflicts of interest, to try to achieve even modest areas of cooperation and keep promoting those instances of cooperation and prolonged iteration. That's the first thing. The second thing in terms of promoting trust is you have to deal with the legacy of history, because it's the past behavior that shapes whether or not you trust a person or a country. I mean, it applies to all human societies. And so in that sense, the second path to building strategic trust is promoting historical reconciliation. And I would say that the promotion of historical reconciliation is just as important as deterrence in terms of security policy. The third is people-to-people exchanges. And it seems that at the youth forum this morning, there was quite a bit of emphasis on that. And there should be cultural exchanges, tourism, youth exchanges, educational exchanges. A fourth pathway to building strategic trust is to search and develop a common identity and shared values. And I agree very much with Professor Takahata that we live in perhaps an era of despair where there are no models, but I think it's quite important for us to search for what things we hold in common, what values we hold dear, and to develop a common identity. In Europe, it has become increasingly impossible to think about a general war. And one reason for that is that there has been a development of a European identity. And then finally, and this pivots off of what Professor Takahata and others have mentioned, is the importance of norms and rules, the institutionalization of norms and rules so that there are shared expectations about behavior. And so I think the key challenge over the next decade is the promotion of strategic trust. Now, I started out with the importance of cooperation in various areas, and here I think the agenda of comprehensive security provides areas in which states can cooperate on discrete issues, and by prolonging periods of cooperation, one can ultimately build strategic trust. One area is, of course, energy security. Right now, it seems that energy security is one of the reasons why we have the possibility of major power conflict. But if one looks carefully at the energy situation today, things may not be so bleak. Despite the rising demand in energy, in large part because of the rise of China, the rise of India, and the industrialization of many other countries, we are now in the middle of what I would call a structural transformation of global energy markets. With the shale oil and gas revolution, it's quite likely that the United States will be self-sufficient in energy and might even become a major exporter of energy resources. And given that, I think countries can have a much more relaxed attitude about energy security and move away from what some people have called the cult of energy insecurity. And because of that, then I think it is possible to promote cooperation on energy issues in terms of joint development, energy efficiency, in terms of stockpile of energy resources, cooperation regarding nuclear safety. Secondly, another area of comprehensive security is environmental security. Now, of course, it's right to worry about the threat from ballistic missiles and the possibility of war because of territorial disputes. And there's a great deal of uncertainty in the Asia-Pacific. But at the end of the day, I think a much greater threat to the lives and security of the people in the world, and especially in the Asia-Pacific, comes from environmental degradation and pollution. I mean, there's uncertainty about military threats, but there is certainty about the threat of environmental degradation and environmental pollution. Pollution can travel through the air, can travel through the rivers and waters in the region. And this demands collective and cooperative action among states. And so I think this challenge of environmental degradation and climate change offers an opportunity for states that are competing on the military front to find ways of cooperating and ultimately building trust. Now, finally, turning to the role of Okinawa, all of the speakers have mentioned how Okinawa is a special place and it can play a special role in terms of promoting comprehensive security. And I would agree wholeheartedly with that. The one thing that I would emphasize for Okinawa is the importance of developing human capital. Okinawa can become an intellectual center for the study of energy efficiency and environmental protection. It can become a center for promoting historical reconciliation and justice in East Asia. It can become a center for the study of health and longevity and the quality of life. This is an issue that I'm becoming increasingly interested in as I move into the ranks of senior citizens. But here, in order for Okinawa to contribute in these areas, it should continue to develop its human capital to nurture citizens of Okinawa who have global and international perspectives, who have strong foreign language skills, and who can contribute and participate in international dialogues and research projects. And it's really through the development of this human capital that Okinawa can enhance its presence and contribution to Asia-Pacific security. Thank you very much.
万国津月先生、ありがとうございました。改めてご講演いただきました先生